Season 5, Episode 67 of Brackets, Bubbles, and Pitch Stealers. I am Jonathan Linskin, as always, joined by the one and only Sam Futterman, who has been at 3 college basketball games already this weekend, with one more tomorrow.
And one rebound. Don't forget the one.
Yes, Sam got a rebound today, off an air ball.
I did not have a trillion.
Dude, I just saw what you sent me on Twitter. Another action-packed Saturday as we inch closer and closer to March. Only 5 days away now until the greatest month on the sports calendar, and we have a ton to break down. But Sam,
Jonathan, I think we should keep it pretty quick tonight. We both have places to be tomorrow.
We do. I have work tomorrow. Sam has a game and to drive back to school,
which is work for what it's worth.
I want to start with this, Sam. We don't really ever, break down a ton of Duke stuff because their games are typically not within 15, 20 points. And they usually just, they're just usually not competitive games. They've lost one game since the start of December. That was to Clemson a couple weeks ago. But everything else, they've pretty much rolled. They had the one kind of scare at Wake Forest. They had the one kind of, tuffle with NC State. But otherwise, it's been smooth sailing for the Duke Blue Devils in conference play. And it is once again tonight as they go to Madison Square Garden for a non-conference game against Illinois and steamroll them 110-67. Sam, I know you were, at a game on the road, but talk about the result and the takeaways from both sides of this game, because I know the Illinois side may be even more interesting than the Duke one.
I think this just confirms everything that we know about this Duke team being built for the moment. It's been a long time. Like we are so far away from what happened in November to this Duke team against Kentucky, where they were up by 9 before Sion James got hurt, and then against Kansas, where Kansas played them really well. So here we are now. They haven't lost since they haven't lost. They've only lost once since then, as you mentioned. They have the Auburn win. They're demolishing everybody, and this was their first chance to get that marquee win, really, aside from Clemson, since December. And they didn't capitalize in the Clemson game. Tough road loss. Cooper Flagg slips late, and then Duke loses. But today, Duke can blow out any team in the country. I think that's what we know. They are the most talented team in the country. They have terrific coaching staff. They are the most versatile defensive team in the country. They're the most devastating defensive team in the country, and they are also the number 2 offense in the country. They hit a ton of shots. They are really good moving the ball. They have a ton of playmaking from all positions on the floor, and they have the ultimate game breaker, the best player in the country in Cooper Flagg. So I think Duke is built for games like this, especially. I do think Illinois is probably an especially bad matchup for Duke, like kind of getting in the Big Ten slog, and it's the type of thing that I've been saying in the last couple of years, that like the Big Ten games are played so much differently from other games across the sport, that when you have to go back to playing normal non-conference basketball games as a Big Ten team playing Big Ten games, it's just so much different. And I was wondering if that would stay the same with all the changes in the Big Ten this year in terms of expansion. And I think this kind of gets to that point right now for Illinois. But Duke does more than just take care of business in this game. They won by 43.
Yeah, 1.51 points per possession for the Blue Devils, only
Like,
0.92.
Spencer Hubbard was playing at Madison Square Garden.
He also hit half of the amount of threes that Illinois hit. He hit a 3, Illinois hit 2. Yeah, it's just a great all-around game, obviously, from Duke. But I want to, transition this into something you texted me a little while ago. Sam, you sent me a text that said, I am not allowed to pick a team to win the national championship that is not Auburn, Duke, Houston, or Florida. Four teams, obviously, who all won today, who have that is currently your top 4 in Ken Palm, although Tennessee is above, is probably in that elite category in terms of net rating as well.
Not really.
But
they're 3 back of
in terms of the grand scheme of things in college basketball, 31.57 is pretty.
Yeah, but
pretty
they're 3 back.
So compared to compared to the top 4, they're not, maybe really in the same stratosphere. But
They're a clear 5th in Ken Palm.
I'd still call them an elite team.
I'm not. I didn't say they weren't.
But yeah, you said Duke, Auburn, Houston,
can't
Florida.
see
That's
Tennessee winning a national championship.
yeah, we've been over this. But anyway, I want you to kind of talk about, the national championship picture, because we are getting obviously closer to picking a bracket, and we'll be breaking down everything that you need to know about picking that bracket here on 2 separate pods, as well as, just going over stuff in the coming weeks. But in an elite year of college basketball, you named 4 teams that can win the title.
Jonathan, something that I did pretty recently was I thought to myself, all right, what types of teams would I pick to beat X? Would I pick to beat Y? Would I pick to beat Z? And what I came up with for the top 4 teams in the country was that the only teams that I would pick to beat them would be other teams in that top 4. Every other team, I felt that there was a way that I could pick somebody else to beat them. These 4, I don't think I can say that about any of them. I don't think anybody outside the top 4 is a team that I would feel confident submitting a bracket with them, with a different team beating them.
Mm-hmm.
Now, it's going to happen. I don't know by who or when, but it's going to happen. But those are the 4 teams that I think are clearly above everyone else. Offensively and defensively, all 4 of them are in the top 12 of both. Auburn is 12th in defense. That's the lowest ranking of any. Florida is 7th in defense. Houston is 6th in offense. And then Duke is 4th in defense, and Florida is 4th in offense. And that, 2-4, 1-12, 6-3, 4-7. Not only do we have the best year of college basketball in terms of the top 30 teams are the best that we've seen in a long time, but even within that, the top 4 teams have separated themselves on another level compared to what we typically have seen over the last couple of years. I think last year with Purdue, UConn, and Houston, we saw more separation than usual. This year, we're seeing just as much separation, if not more, than last year from the very top tier of the sport.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, obviously, Auburn has been one of the elite teams this season. It feels like over the last week, they've been on cruise control a little bit. They mess around with Arkansas at home. Georgia was in that game for a while today. They eventually pull away and win by 12. But Auburn, obviously last weekend goes and gets one of the biggest wins in college basketball this season. They go and beat Alabama on the road by 9 in a game that Alabama never led. Is Auburn just good enough that when they play, a bubble level team like Arkansas or Georgia, that they can just kind of sit there and, not turn it up like they did against Alabama and still win relatively comfortably? I wouldn't say that Arkansas win was comfortable.
At Neville Arena, yes.
Yeah, but Auburn's scheduled to end the year. Mississippi at home, Kentucky and A&M on the road, and then they host the Tide to end the regular season. I don't want to say I'm like looking for no, 100%. Like
I also just
goes
want to
without
say,
saying.
Trevor, it's interesting the top 4 and top 30 are so good, yet the bubble is so bad. I think that's I've been saying this last couple of
Yeah,
weeks.
the 2
I
and 2
think
go together.
I
Yeah.
think these two go together. The super conference, especially in a super conference era where the bubble teams are playing the top 30 teams significantly more often than usual. And we're ending up with those bubble teams taking a lot of losses. Like, I think this Georgia team, like, if you compare it to last year's bubble teams, who were the bubble teams last year, Jonathan? Seton Hall,
Providence.
Providence. Like, this year's Georgia team beats those teams.
Sure.
At least in my opinion.
Okay.
This year's Georgia team is like, are they worse than Colorado State was last year?
Probably not. Right? They're
Like,
probably not worse.
I think that the fact that they're losing games to teams that are significantly better than what we've seen in college basketball recently, it's kind of muddied our view of them. Georgia, Oklahoma, Arkansas, Vanderbilt, those 4 in particular.
Oklahoma got a big win today, but I still
Yeah,
think
but
that
then
team is
once
just downright bad.
below the cut line, it's really bad, and I would
Yeah,
agree.
I think there is actually some separation between like the teams that are currently in the bubble and the teams that are probably like in like the next 4 out. Like
Yeah, like
you,
your
like a
Indiana,
team like UNC still has like a lot of work to do if they want to make the NCAA tournament.
and that's a bad basketball team.
Mhm.
Okay, it's not a bad basketball team, but they're not good.
Yeah, no, bad is a subjective term in this conversation. Florida goes to LSU, had some trouble, were trailing, I think, at the under 12, but they pull away and win by 14. Houston knocks off a shorthanded Iowa State team. I was pretty impressed with Iowa State's fight in this game. They cut it to like 3 or 2 at one point. But just didn't have enough in the tank without Curtis Jones and Sean Gilbert. They were playing. I mean, Cade Kelderman, who I've literally never heard of, played 9 minutes today. And
Do we have an official?
I know a lot of players.
Do we have an official statement on Andre Curbelo, Jonathan?
What, that he was kicked off the team?
Yes. Do we have an official statement from the Brackets, Bubbles, and Vid Steelers podcast?
It's honestly just like sad because that kid had so much promise his freshman year at Illinois and was closing out games for them on a team that was a 1 seed and a top 3 or 4 team in the country. And, to see what like his career ended up being, kind of sad, disappointing for sure.
Can we talk about the end of the Wisconsin-Oregon game?
Yeah, that I was watching this. This was something else.
I sent a tweet out about this. It was honestly a really good tweet, if you ask me. This ending is why we all love college basketball. Timeout, insanely dumb moment. Timeout, insanely dumb moment. Monitor, insanely dumb moment. Timeout. It doesn't get any better than this.
Yeah. I think this, was like this was Oregon, how they've won games on the road this year. Peak Oregon, where they don't make mistakes and the other team does. We've praised Wisconsin over the years for their discipline, but they turned it over 17 times. I think that like 7 of those came in like the final 5 minutes or something like that. It was a collapse of epic proportions by the Badgers, a team that you'll frown upon them for this, but your long-term picture of them doesn't really change. They had gotten some big wins over the past few weeks. They come down to earth here. Oregon's played well on the road this year. I don't really have anything else more to make of that.
I just want to say, I used to be a foul up 3 Avenger, and I still think you should foul up 3 if you can.
There's a time and place,
but John Rothstein, and the foul up 3 mafia.
Oh, he's beating it to death.
Tweeting out, always foul up 3 after Jackson Shellstad makes a step back 30-footer with 15 seconds left.
Yeah, with 13 seconds left, by the way.
If you foul there, they're fouling you, and you're doing it all over again.
Mm-hmm.
And then you probably have to foul. You probably have to foul 3 times if you foul 15 seconds.
The idea is to do it in a time where you're going to like the other team is going to have to like heave a shot. Right? Like the idea is like, okay, you sent them to the line. Now they're going to have to send you to the line. And like after you go to the line, the other team is going to have to heave a shot to win or tie the
Exactly.
game. Like that's the whole idea of following threes. It's to make winning the game obviously statistically harder, but also physically harder. And if you're following with 13 seconds, that doesn't change anything. Like you said, you're doing it all over again. So great quote tweet by Jim Root last week.
Yes.
About it. It was fantastic.
No way. They told me if you foul up 3, they stop the game and it's an auto win.
Yeah, that was fantastic. Some other notable results around college basketball today. Tennessee went to College Station, came away victorious in a very predictably sloppy game that had a lot of defense there. Actually wasn't as much defense as you would think because the game was so slow, but my Wade Taylor theory continues to live on. He was 4 of 15 from the field today. Did make 10 free throws in typical Wade Taylor fashion, but the Wade Taylor theory, like I've said the last couple weeks, Wade Taylor can take as many shots as he wants, and it does not impact the results of the game.
Nope. It's actually unbelievable.
Texas A&M lives and dies on, the free throw margin and the rebound margin. And this year, obviously they play better defense, which is why they are a better team than they have been in previous years. But Wade Taylor, in my eyes, has very minimal impact on the Texas A&M results on an individual game.
And that does, and to be clear, that doesn't mean he's not good.
Yeah, that's not to say he's not a meaningful player or a good player. He just, the way Texas A&M plays, the way Wade Taylor
the variance for Texas A&M is not Wade Taylor.
Yes, correct.
Which is a compliment, if we're being honest.
And I think it's like especially more this year because of how good Zurich Phelps has been. Because like he's been more consistent than Taylor this year in my eyes. And I know Taylor has had injury problems, but
That's not exactly an accomplishment.
No, being more efficient.
Wade Taylor is the Caleb Love of the SEC.
Being more efficient than Wade Taylor.
But, I mean, both those guys are studs. Both those guys are awesome players.
Yeah. Being more consistent than Wade Taylor is like, oh, congrats. You can climb a tree better than a fish can. Wonderful, right? Speaking of Caleb Love in Arizona, what a
brutal
crazy end of the game that was.
Brutal foul call against Trey Townsend.
Yeah, like I'm one that always says like, hey, if it's a foul, like no matter the situation, you have to call it. Like if the guy gets mauled, I don't care if there's 2 seconds left or 19:58 on the clock in the first half. You have to call it. That just simply wasn't a foul. Townsend was straight up.
It was a bad call. Arizona probably deserved this win, but like that doesn't mean BYU didn't deserve it either. I've been really impressed. Like they're really coming together.
Yeah, I'm staying strong on this. BYU is a good basketball team.
I think Richie Saunders turning into one of the best players in the Big 12 has been gigantic. Richie Saunders is a good player last year. Richie Saunders is a superstar right now.
Fran Fraschilla said he should be Big 12 all first team. You agree?
Borderline.
Dickinson will be. Jones will be. Toppin will be. Cryer will be.
Javon Small.
Yeah. It's probably like him or Cryer because obviously Uzan's been really good in conference play as well.
Maybe VJ?
Yeah, that's a good call. Although, dude, what a freaking brutal loss for them today.
Oh my God, I didn't even see this.
Okay, I'll say this because I texted you this earlier and I want to get out ahead of this before people, start to realize it. Scott Drew's on the Tony Bennett arc. right now.
I did not realize that they lost to Colorado.
Tony Bennett went national championship, was going to be like a 5 seed in the 2020 tournament. So national championship 5 seed, 4 seed, missed the tournament, 4 seed, losing the first round again, and then get blown out in whatever that game was last year against Colorado State. Scott Drew goes national championship, 1 seed, losing the second round, 3 seed, losing the second round, 3 seed again, losing the second round. And now he's going to be like a 9-10 seed?
Yep.
So, obviously, Tony's results were probably a little worse. Wasn't playing in a super dominant conference at that point, so didn't have as many chances for quality wins. And obviously, you had the weird, didn't have a tournament season and also COVID-filled season where we were canceling games all over the place. But that's, it kind of feels like it's heading that direction for Drew right now. I feel like he has to go out and hire a new staff. And, I know he wants to be loyal to his guys who's been around this a long time. He obviously has very many connections in this sport. But, I don't know who his assistant coaches are.
Hire a new staff.
Huh?
He just did hire a new staff.
He did?
Like last offseason.
Okay.
If I recall. He made 2 big hires, I think.
Let's see. Jared Nunez and Tweety Carter's an assistant for them. I feel like I should know that. Yeah, but he's got 5 assistant positions filled, which is your max right now. That just expanded, I think, 2 years ago. A couple other notable results. We'll start with St. Mary's Gonzaga. Sam, the storyline in this one, St. Mary's beats Gonzaga by 7, and Joe Few, Mark Few's son, who started tonight, was a -9. I didn't watch the game, but it was described to me that basically, St. Mary's was able to get him in isolation situations in that first couple minutes and attack him, and started up like 9-0 or 8-0 until before he got off. I guess it was 9-0 before he got off the floor.
And by the way, apparently there was a whistle where they could have taken him off the floor
and didn't. But I think like 2 things there. One, Gonzaga didn't score against St. Mary's in the first, however many minutes that Few was on the floor, which
you have to the second
oh, okay, but I think that shows you 2
or nothing. You have to call timeout and get him off the floor.
I think that shows you 2 things too, though. One, obviously St. Mary's picked on him. That's the obvious part. But 2, I think that shows how hard it is to play offense against St. Mary's. That you have to move the ball quickly, and all 5 guys have to be able to be a threat to play really good offense against them.
I think this is the best Gales team I've seen in the last couple of years. 25-4, 15-1. In the WCC, outright WCC champions, sweep of Gonzaga for the first time since 2016. I think they have Mikey Lewis as an extremely dynamic scorer and elite shooter, probably the most dynamic scorer / outside shooter that they've had over the last couple of years. I think he can obviously Mahaney was better his freshman year, but I think Lewis is a better shooter, and Lewis has a little bit more burst to him. Mahaney was really, really crafty, and an excellent shooter too. But Lewis is tremendous. Obviously, Gus is Gus. Luke Barrett had a big game. Luke Barrett's been really coming along for St. Mary's this year. He's been really I've been impressed with Luke Barrett this year. And then there's Mitchell Saxon, who just keeps doing Mitchell Saxon things.
It's a traditional Randy Bennett team. Put you in a torture chamber for 40 minutes, move the ball on offense, play slow, make you really grinded out to get buckets. And of course, Lewis has been just massive for them this year as a freshman. A couple bubble results. Sam, you can jump in here if you have anything to say. Clemson knocks off SMU. SMU is now 0-5 against Quad 1. They should not make the NCAA tournament.
Get them out of my glorious tournament.
Vanderbilt beats Mississippi at home, 77-72. Great season, obviously, for Mark Byington, year one, and the Doors continue to make some noise on the bubble. Oklahoma, we mentioned it briefly, but they got a much-needed win over Mississippi State. This was one I was really disappointed in because I don't think Oklahoma is a tournament-quality team, and I still want to believe in Mississippi State, but they've taken some not-so-great losses lately. Utah State 79, San Diego State 71. The Aggies get it done. Didn't see any of this game, so not going to comment a ton on it. And then the most notable one of these bubble games, final score 84 South Carolina, Texas 69.
I don't even want to talk about it.
South Carolina's first conference win of the season. So they will not follow up Mizzou's winless conference season with a winless conference season of their own.
I'm afraid of what I'm going to say here.
So you're just going to pass?
Texas is terrible.
If Texas does not find a new basketball coach for next season, I think it would be a pretty catastrophic mistake.
I think I'm fairly close to starting the Texas boycott.
Straight up boycott. Wow, we is this going to be a yearly thing that you just find a team to boycott?
Dude, I'm close to boycotting Oklahoma State again.
Sam texted me. Actually, texted in a chat of ours earlier today. This was at 5:06 p.m. Eastern time. Society has progressed past the need for Oklahoma State.
If you're an Oklahoma State fan watching this, I'm sure you feel the same way about the basketball program over the last couple of years. But I'm sorry that you don't deserve this.
I texted you.
You deserve the teams of Marcus Smart yelling at fans.
I texted you and said, hold on, I gotta find this. Wow, we texted a lot today. Okay, we were talking about Oklahoma State. I said if Marist played them 10 times, Marist would win 12. And I forgot to add this because I was at work, but I was going to say, yes, that's not an autocorrection or anything like that or a mistype. Oklahoma State would start down 0 to -2 for keeping Mike Boynton that long.
I've got some mid-major results.
Yeah, I was going to kick it to you for that next.
Yale, 90,
Dude,
Columbia, 64.
If you're making a list of wagons in college basketball, Yale has to be on there.
The Bulldogs are now 11-0 in the Ivy League. They have clinched the outright Ivy League title with 3 games to spare. And by the way, three games in the Ivy League is 21% of the season.
That just doesn't happen in the Ivy League.
They are dangerously close to that first. By the way, their win probability in the next 3 games 79, 87, and 78, all on the road too. They are what's 0.79 times 0.87 times 0.78.
You're asking the wrong guy.
They have it. KenPom says they have a 53% chance of finishing with the first undefeated season in Ivy League play, Jonathan, since Princeton in 2017.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and that was a Princeton.
They also now have the nation's longest winning streak because Ohio took down Akron 84-67 at the Convocation Center in Athens. Jackson Pavlovetsky had 21 points and 4 rebounds. They did it without Aiden Hadaway, which is impressive. Akron shot 4 for 18 from 3. Akron is a team that lives and dies by the 3. If they're only attempting 18, let alone making 4, That's not really gonna work out for them. I don't think Akron is quite as good defensively as the numbers say. They are a good defensive team, but I think the numbers are a little bit inflating that in terms of conference play. And the Zips are now 21-6, 13-1 in the MAC. After that loss, they take on Ball State on Tuesday. That was a big game in that league. I would also like to shout out Central Connecticut, another outright conference champion, 12-2 with 2 games to go. The Blue Devils have a 10-game winning streak going. They're 21-6, Jonathan. Pat Sellers, back-to-back 20-win seasons, back-to-back years winning the regular season title. He has done an unbelievable job at this program. That was in an absolute dumpster fire position when he took over. They had finished outside the top 300 in KenPom, Jonathan, 8 consecutive years.
Wow.
When Sellers got the job. In Sellers' first 2 years, they were outside the top 300. Last year, they were 262. This year, 170. They are by far the best team in the NEC. They are 122 spots better than the second best team in the NEC on KenPom.
Yeah. You have anything else?
Yes, I do. I have Santa Clara. I have Santa Clara 109 points today on Washington State.
Did I see correctly that they started like 10 of 11 from 3?
Something like that. Without Adama Alpha Ball in this game as well. 23 for 38 from beyond the arc. They had 4 players make 4 or more threes. Johnny O'Neal hit 5. Carlos Stewart had 22 points. Washington State is now 6-10. 6-10 in the WCC. A very disappointing stretch after starting 5-2, just 1-8 in the last 9. The loss of Cedric Coward and really, really caught up to them. David Riley, still, I would say, a successful-ish first season at Washington State. It got away from them, but they had a really strong start.
Too many injuries to overcome.
Yeah.
VCU Mason?
Yes. VCU continues to just pound teams at the Siegel Center. A 16-point win over George Mason is the equivalent of pounding them when it comes to this Mason team, who doesn't get blown out. VCU went over 1 point per possession against a team that doesn't allow that very often.
Yeah, this was only a 64 possession game.
Max Scholga, 22 points in this one. Puts VCU in first place in the A10. I think that's all I have, Jonathan.
I got a couple things. Just when you count out Vermont, they beat Bryant on Thursday, and they just destroy UMass Lowell today.
Oh my God, Jonathan! I have one more.
Okay.
UC San Diego, 35th in KenPom.
No reason for them to miss the tournament.
This is an NCAA.
Unless they take some like catastrophic losses here.
35th in KenPom. 35th.
No reason for them to miss the tournament.
All right, go ahead.
So yeah, Vermont really impressive again today. They somehow still have a chance in the America East, which is crazy considering where they were just a couple weeks ago. But John Becker is, if nothing else, inevitable, as we know. And then the other one I wanted to mention today is we had a really interesting game going on in the WAC. Utah Valley was on the ropes at home against Seattle, but they fight back late. Grand Canyon won as well, so still, a very good race in the WAC there for first. But Utah Valley was in real danger of surrendering their outright lead of first place, but they play really well in the final four minutes of that game and get it done at home. Sam, I think that's all I got. Shout out Barry Dunning for the performance today. South Alabama lost. They've had a great year, but Dunning had 46 against Texas State today.
Shout out Markel Sutton at Omaha,
Omaha,
who
hit
is
those
now
trash
taken,
cans, baby.
who is now taken back first place by a game and a half. If you came to
Big
hear about
Thomas was
Tyler
picked
Sutton,
off today.
if you came to hear about Tyler Sullivan, where he's working, you came to the right place. If you came to hear about boycotts of college basketball teams, you came to the right place. If you came to hear about the latest happenings with Caleb Grill, you came to the right place. If you came to hear about the number one rebounder in college basketball media, you probably came to the right place. This is season 5, episode 67 of Practice Bubbles and Bit Stealers. We will see you next time.